Cowboys Nation, something is happening in Dallas. And if you have been watching closely, you already feel it. The moves are different. The energy is different. And I do not mean that in the empty hype way people throw around when they want views. I mean it in the tangible, show me the evidence way that actually matters when you are building a football team. Before we get into what is next after the Maxx Crosby fallout, and we will get into that, I want to talk about what this organization is doing right in front of us. Because the Cowboys are sending a message, and if you are not listening it, you are going to miss the whole story. But before we go there, one fan to another, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Drop your take in the comments below. This is a community, and your voice belongs in this conversation. You ready? Let's get into it. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Look, the Maxx Crosby situation stings. I am not going to pretend it does not. Every Cowboys fan had started building that picture in their head. Crosby in silver and black, wrecking quarterbacks, changing the identity of this defense. And then he goes to Baltimore. It is frustrating. But here's the thing about frustration. You can either let it cloud your vision, or you can step back and look at what the situation actually revealed. Because when the Cowboys offer leaked, when it came out that Osa Odighizuwa was included in that trade package, something became undeniable. This front office is now willing to do things Jerry Jones has almost never done before. They put a player they just paid on the table. They said, if this is what it costs to get elite, we will pay it. That is not the old Cowboys. That is not the team that held on to contracts out of ego and sunk cost logic. That is a front office starting to think in terms of what the roster actually needs instead of what the balance sheet already has on it. Now let us talk about what is quietly happening below the headline moves, because this is where the real shift is showing up. Brandon Aubrey, one of the best kickers in the league, and the Cowboys essentially put him on the market rather than meet his ask of $10 million. They put a tender on him and said, if somebody wants to give you that money, go get it. We'll take the compensatory pick. That takes conviction. That takes a front office that is no longer making decisions based on sentiment or public perception. They are making decisions based on football value. That is a serious organization operating with discipline. Juwanye Thomas, a player a lot of us wanted to develop into a true impact safety, never fully got there, and instead of rolling it back with hope and wishful thinking, they let him hit free agency. Brock Hoffman, same story, a guy with effort and grit, but limited upside. Gone. The Cowboys are not hanging on anymore. They are trimming where trimming makes sense and creating room for real upgrades. And the message that sends heading into free agency is loud. We are not filling holes with warm bodies. We are going after legitimate pieces. That mindset, that discipline is everything, because you can have cap room and still waste it. The Raiders know this, the Browns know this, half the league knows this. Having money is not the move. Knowing what to do with it is the move. So now the question is, where does that money go on the edge? Because Maxx Crosby is a Raven now, and the Cowboys still have a real pass rush problem, if they're being honest about it. Here's where it gets interesting. The Steelers have 3 edge rushers that they cannot all keep. TJ Watt is not going anywhere. Alex Highsmith is not going anywhere. That leaves Nick Herbig, 24 years old, a player who has already shown he can produce at this level. And Pittsburgh cannot pay 3 edge rushers real money. Nobody does that. So Herbig is going to hit the market or be moved. And when that happens, Dallas needs to be the first call he gets. Think about the fit. Young player, new system. A chance to be a featured piece instead of the third option behind 2 of the best pass rushers in the league. You bring him to Dallas at a reasonable contract, somewhere in the range that reflects his age and upside rather than his name recognition, and you've got yourself a real piece, not a patch, a piece. A player with a runway who fits exactly what this defense is trying to build under a young, aggressive defensive coordinator.
And that matters, because this is not just about one free agent anymore. This is about establishing an identity, a defense that hits, a defense that disrupts, a defense that opposing offenses have to game plan around on Saturday nights. That identity starts up front, and Herbig is the kind of player who helps build it. Here is what I want every Cowboys fan to understand about where this team is right now. The proof is not in one signing. It is in the pattern of decisions. Trading for George Pickens, moving on from Matt Eberflus without hesitation, trading Micah Parsons to get significant return value instead of holding a superstar and getting nothing, picking up Quinnen Williams mid-season, building a defensive staff that is young, hungry, and structurally different from anything this organization has put together before. Every one of those moves, individually, you could talk yourself into different conclusions, but together they point in one direction. The Cowboys are becoming a serious football operation, not a marketing brand that also happens to play football on Sundays. An actual, football-first organization that is starting to think about winning the right way. And the hard part, the part that actually validates all of it, is what happens in the next few days. Free agency opens, and we find out if the discipline was real, if the aggression behind the Maxx Crosby offer was a genuine reflection of the mindset or just a one-time moment. I believe it was real. I believe this team is going to walk into the market and go after legitimate players with legitimate contracts instead of squinting at depth signings and calling them upgrades. Tell me in the comments, do you believe the Cowboys have actually turned a corner as an organization? Not just in the talk, but in the decisions. Because that is the real question. Not who they sign, but whether the process that leads to who they sign has finally changed. Drop it below. I want to hear your read on this. Because if I am right, and I think I am, the next chapter of Dallas Cowboys football looks different from anything we have watched in a long time. And that is not a small thing for anyone who has been riding with this franchise through the years when different felt impossible. Let's go get it.